Hello to all my people. If you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botched Spots and Share Shots. We still have high hopes of delivering quality wrestling content, but if not, we'll sprinkle in Bobby and RN, so we still get over. I am your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and I'm glad to be here on this journey, and tonight that journey is the history of the strap. Remember, here at Box Watch and Share Shots, we call it in the ring from all the angles. Joining me tonight is my Smackmar brother. He is the Devon to my Bubba Ray. He is the Kennel Master, RN. RN, how are you, sir?
Well, you forgot that I'm the brains and beauty of the Smack Raw Rewind show, so just make sure you put that in there on the next intro.
I will put that in right now on my notes. Brains and beauty. Making his Botch Spots and Chair Shots return for a special history of the strap, he is the yellow shoe guy, Bobby Mack. Bobby, thanks for coming on and chatting about some wrestling. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for the invitation.
I was a little bit cautious. I just wanted to clear the air and give everybody a chance to come on a nice medium. It's a good way for us to all cross paths and be on good terms. So I'm going to start by asking you two gentlemen, what has you the most pissed off for greatness right now in the professional wrestling world?
I'll go first. I don't care.
All right, you can jump in?
Yeah, I'll go first. Well, first of all, it's why is Natty still on our screen? That's my first thing. I can't fucking stand her. She's terrible. And I don't understand the hate and the disdain for Austin Theory. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea. I get it. But for years, we've been bitching, moaning, and complaining about WWE can't make a new star. WWE doesn't do anything with their young stars. WWE keeps going back to the same people over and over again. Well, they're finally doing something right and organically building up a young star who literally is 24 years old. So we got probably 20 years worth of him to move on to. And it's still something to fucking complain about. So at this point, it has nothing to do with WWE. Now it's just we're bitter fucking bitches and just can't handle or take anything positive that WWE does good. Yes, they fuck up a lot. Yes, they completely disappoint us and make us want to shoot ourselves in the head time and time again, every fucking chance they get. But we really do finally have one thing they're doing right between him and Riddle, and people still are shitting on it. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. It's so basically what you're telling me is there isn't shit WWE can do to make you not shit on them. That's what I'm hearing right now.
I think I'm gonna say this, and if you watched our Money in the Bank recap the other night on the Rewind, you and we had an exchange, to say the least. I think I'm ready to say that I'm okay with Theory. I think that if he rides the Money in the Bank briefcase long enough and continues to be in this spotlight and show me that he can be consistent, then I'll represent it maybe 8 months, a year from now. You know what I mean? As long as he doesn't cash it in this summer at SummerSlam, I'll be okay with it. Just let the kind of build a little bit. I do have to jump on the fuck Matt Riddle bandwagon, though. I'm just not a Riddle guy. I used to be, when he was in the fight pit with Timothy Thatcher and coming out of black and gold, I could represent that. And when he got into the main roster, I just feel like he's kind of a caricature of himself at this point. Bobby Mack, what are your opinions on Riddle and Theory?
Oh, man. I hate to say something controversial right away, but I'm not a Theory or Riddle fan.
Riddle, that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I don't want to shit on anybody that's not fans. I get that. And they're kind of polarizing, both of them. One's a fucking dumb stoner and one's a fucking idiotic brat. You know what I'm saying? I get it. That part, I'm okay if you don't like them. I'm just talking about everything behind them as far as the company being behind them and the pushes that they're getting. That's the part. I know a lot of people don't like either one. I get it. I'm not, that's what wrestling is. You like somebody, you don't like somebody. It's cool. But my thing is the WWE portion of it, them finally organically letting two guys just grow and not automatically throwing them into the fucking main event to get killed or throwing a title on them that they're not ready for. You know what I'm saying? That's my thing. It's they're literally just letting them kind of ground swell it up and kind of letting them do their thing in their own little corner, even though Theory shit is a little bit different. He is kind of getting bumped up sorta into the main event space. But my thing is not necessarily their characters, how you feel about their characters, or how you feel about how the company is treating them. That's the part I'm angry about and bitch about. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm good with that. Like, I think, like, I agree with you. Like, I like that they're trying to build people. But I also feel like I'm being force fed again. And like
Yeah.
with Roman Reigns, like, like the things we've done, with Cena in the past, but Cena was able to overcome that. Can Theory overcome this Tyler Breeze gimmick of taking selfies? Because Tyler Breeze couldn't do it. And
Right.
Tyler Breeze was much smaller, but it's the same gimmick. So can Theory get over that? Riddle with this whole throwing his shoes off and doing these graphics, I that I'm never going to get behind.
Right. No, I hate that too. It's so dumb. I hate it.
Yeah, Riddle's a great athlete, but again, like Nakamura, I just don't get it. I don't get it yet, and he hasn't connected with me. And am I the core audience they're going for nowadays? Probably not. I'm in my 40s.
You are no longer in the key demo.
Oh, no, so I was saying, I don't get it either. Like, I'm not that far behind you. I know you may not think, but I'm literally not that far. I don't smoke weed. Like, I think he sounds fucking stupid as shit. Like, I get it, but like both of them, like I came into independent wrestling watching them and evolve and like watching them grow, and I seen what they can do without the handcuffs on. So like my love for them, like I'm not gonna shit on anybody that doesn't love them and like appreciate them the way that I do. Like I've seen them wrestle. I've seen these two guys wrestle probably more than I've seen any two dudes wrestle, because Evolve is not that far from me, like Philly, Missouri, shit like that, where I can literally drive a couple hours and see it. And I've met Matt Riddle here at PW Revolver and fucking Rockstar Wrestling that the Chris brothers and Sammy Callahan ran here in Dayton, Ohio. Like I've met him 2 or 3 times. Just like, I'm not gonna shit anybody that don't love him the way I do. And like, I'm just happy that the stupid gimmick that Vince doesn't get, they're still letting him live and letting him breathe. And I did not think it would last as long. Like I literally thought he was gonna be fucking dude off Fast Times at Ridgemont High by this point in his career. Like, so all the success he's having, like I'm eating this shit up. Even though you're right, I don't get the character. I think it's dumb as shit. I hate the flip flop thing and all that. But like, I mean, he's being successful on TV and not being buried. So I kind of got to swallow my shit and just grin and bear it.
Yeah, Ridgemont High, I can say, Sean Penn has come a long way in his career since that role.
Right. Fucking one of the greatest actors of all time.
Pretty well for himself. Yeah. Other than, marrying Madonna at one point in time.
Right.
He's done pretty well for himself. So, if Riddle can, like, again, I'm looking at, Riddle to RVD. Like, RVD, when I was 20 years younger, I got RVD. And I'm not
right.
a big pot smoker or anything like that, but I got the culture. They're doing it very subtle with Riddle. And really, I think Riddle, it's going to make or break him when Orton comes back.
Yeah.
When he comes back, is it a feud? Is it a friendship? Is it whatever? That's what's going to make Riddle. With Theory, they've got to, I think, let him go a little bit and let him organically either connect or disconnect with the fans. Because right now, I feel like, again, we're being force-fed Riddle. And when I'm force-fed something, other than being an infant, which I really can't remember much of, I don't need that. I don't want that.
And the thing about, like, I totally agree with the force-fed thing. And I think we could take it a little bit easier like we did with Seth if we had some actual authority figure that we could aim the fucking shit at, that they're forcing it down. Because now he's just out there on his own. Like, if he had Stephanie and Triple H like Seth did, like, he kind of got a pass. But if you really think about it, he got shoved down our throat too. But because we could blame it on the authority and them choosing him, it kind of gave him the ability to kind of skate past that Xbox heat and just be the person, you know what I'm saying, a heel, you know what I'm saying, and not get that real hit. And I think that's where they're slipping on this, is like, he has to be with somebody. Put him with MVP. Put him with somebody. Like, he has to have somebody to kind of draw that real heat away from him so he can grow and develop.
Put him with Heyman. Take Heyman.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Let him be the next big thing. Because when he came out there, when Reigns was out there at the ring, Reigns totally dismissed him and pretty much made him look like a jobber.
Yes.
Like, didn't recognize him as a real threat. And I felt the same way when he came out there. I was like, okay,
absolutely,
skipping around the ring like he's like Mary Poppins, B. Like, it's just like nothing. Like,
yeah, no, I could not agree more. And that's the thing, that I think that they're so scared that people are going to think that, and like that we are forcing them, that they're kind of pulling back a little bit on what they should be doing. When I think, no, if you're going to force it, just say it and put it out there and make us and let us know you're forcing it. Yep. So then that way we have somebody to aim our fucking vitriol at and fucking venom at, and kind of give him a shield from it. You know what I'm saying? And like, because I totally agree. Like they made him look like a bitch, like flat out. Like
like we respected the McMahon Helmsley era. Like we understood it. We understood when Vince had the corporation.
Right.
But now they've kind of just they forced him a little bit. Now they just stopped, and that's I think what they did with Roman, where they made that mistake.
Right. Or they send out fucking what's his name, and like nobody takes him serious either, really, as like an authority figure. So it's like, because sometimes he's a good guy and sometimes he's a bad guy. So it's like the crowd. I don't think the crowd knows to boo him or cheer him because he walks that fucking line all the time. Like with the Theory stuff, like throwing Theory in. Because Mr. McMahon said though they booed him, but like they were just cheering him earlier in the night with the shit with the women and stuff. So it's like they're too much line walking. Like cross the fuck over the straight asshole heel, either with Pierce or with somebody to kind of give Theory that shield to continue on and be the heel, but not take the real fucking heat and the real us being pissed off at somebody. We need somebody to aim that at. That's not him, or this is never going to work for him.
And I'll tell you what, crazy thing. I think Theory will be a great face.
Yeah, once we get done, that's what I'm saying. But we gotta. But it can't be that whatever that X-Pac heat where we just hate him in general, like no matter what he does, or like Seth Rollins. Like we love Seth Rollins as a heel, but he's ass as a fucking face, and he gets booed more as a face than he does as a heel. Like, and that's the point. Like I don't want to get to with Theory. Like when he does finally become that face, we just hate him so much in general that he never gets off as a face. And then they're like, well, he failed. He couldn't really connect with the crowd. I was like, well, you never gave him really a chance to. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my thing with it. Like, I totally agree. Like,
yeah, like, but they're building him up as a heel versus a heel Reigns champion. And Brock Lesnar, you know, ponytail or whatever, I still am not ever comfortable like cheering Brock. So
yeah.
It's like you've got Theory right there. Dude, this guy could be the ultimate John Cena face. Like instead of him versus Cena later on, him and Cena together as a tag team for a little bit. Because Cena's saying he wants to come back and run more than just one match. Let that Cena rub go. And, you know, let John be the loser in the group. Let him be the guy that gets pinned. And Theory is the guy's like, hey, you know, John, you know, build John back up. Kind of like what they did with Flair back in the day.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like I said, it's because it's the thing that I always talk about on the ring. Like heels in WWE are really the faces, because if you really think about it, what bad shit do heels do in WWE? That's because Vince is a heel in real life, but he thinks he's the hero of his own story. So if you really think about it, faces do all the fucked up shit, 2-on-1 matches versus heels, sneak attacking them and shit. Cena still in the championship match from fucking Finn. Like heels don't do anything. The heels get their ass beat and get jumped and get shit fucking dropped on their head. Shit. Heels really get fucked up all the time. They don't do any bad stuff. Like name the last like dastardly, destructive, terrible fucking thing you were yelling at the screen that a heel has done.
Yeah,
you can't.
It's been that way since Vince took over. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Will, mark this down. First Hogan reference. Hogan eye scratch, used to do the back rakes, used to do all that matches. Like it was heel. It was a heelish thing. Brett kind of stopped that a little bit, but then who was your next big face? Shawn Michaels, heel. Steve Austin, heel. Rock, heel. Like, and these are your faces.
Yeah. I've literally been screaming this for the entire time I've been on a podcast. Like if you just do a character study and take a step back and look and see, heels do not do anything fucked up. They don't hurt anybody. They don't destroy anybody. They're not flipping cars with fucking what is it, fucking forklifts. They're not like blowing shit up. Like, no, that is faces doing all these terrible things, and then we fucking cheer it. Like
other than waving a flag that's not our country's flag.
Exactly. That's literally it. You hate a guy because he's a dentist. You hate a hardworking guy that went to school to fucking become a dentist to do so. You hate a garbage, you know what I'm saying? You cheer a garbage dude that's literally spitting dip on people and throwing slop and fucking dropping people in fucking dumpsters and shit. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you hate an aristocrat who really didn't do anything, just bowed when he came to the fucking ring and had on a nice blouse. Like what did Triple H do bad as when he was that version of Hunter Hearst Helmsley? Like you can't. Duke the Dumpster did more shit, and Henry O. Godwin fucked him up more and did more shitty things to Triple H than he did to anybody. Like I said, it's like because Vince is the hero in his story, and all great villains are the hero in their story. It's just from the beginning of time, comics, movies, anything. All great villains think they're the hero.
All right, guys, the chat wants to chime in. Alison says everybody loves a good bad guy. Marie says there's a select few heels who do all those things that you're talking about. Then she names a few with Christian. Alison says the only face that she likes is Bianca. Bobby, what has you pissed off for greatness tonight in professional wrestling?
I'm pissed off because I don't get to talk to RN enough. I'll tell you what. One of the things that actually pisses me off right now is the Liv push. She's a beautiful woman. The next thing blonde, boom.
16 minutes, 23 seconds.
Bobby, I just want to cut you off. Say I love you. We should start our own podcast because I fucking feel it. Let's go, Bobby.
RN and B. Yeah, I'm talking about BS. Liv, the deserve it thing. I'm not a big fan of the deserve it thing, but I think that Liv really has grown as a professional wrestler, sports entertainer. She's overcome this whole comparison to Alexa, because that's really where she's been compared to, is Alexa. And if you look at the Riot Squad, where she came from to where she is, she, to John Cena's towel, she never gave up. She just kept going. And is she a 5-star athlete in the ring? No. But you know what? The fans are behind her. The promotion's behind her. And that championship looks good on her, not just because of her looks, but the fact that this is that Cinderella story. And I'm a Disney fan. This is that Cinderella story. This is somebody that came from nothing. She was the one in the Riot Squad you never thought was going to be champion. And now here she is. And she's done it. And I really do. I feel like I'm really pissed off when people like, and this is one of my guys I like to listen to, Cornette calling her a model and doesn't deserve the championship and all this kind of stuff. That does piss me off, because if there's anybody and he managed Bobby Eaton, nobody. Now I say no body, I mean no body as in he did not have a wrestler's body. Great athlete. And he worked with everything he had to get where he was, a television champion, tag team champion. Liv, I really do feel like, is the Bobby Eaton of the women's era right now in the WWE. So yeah, it pisses me off when people knock Liv.
Wow.
I knock her too, but my thing with knocking her is the crying and the fucking like sad shit. No, I get it, that was kind of her thing, but nothing about her is that weak, emotional fucking damsel in distress fucking female. Like you said, she has been through the fucking ringer. Everyone she ever got involved with gets fired or hurt and gone. She is literally when you hear rappers or anybody say got it out the mud, she is the fucking definition of it. But she's always crying and no, you've done too much and pulled yourself out of literally fucking obscurity to be the fucking world champion. I don't want that. That's what I hate about her. I do all the time, the tears era begins. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that crying shit. No, that's not who you are as a performer or anything. I don't get it.
It's time for her to recognize what she has done.
Yes.
Where she is at.
And be confident, not fucking I'm just glad to be here.
Yeah, and I think that's where she needs to be. And if that could be a heel turn. Hey, you know what? I've done all this stuff. Boom. Oh yeah, I forgot I can curse. I've done all this shit. Let me go. Let me move. Let me grow.
Yes, absolutely. I think I would like her a hell of a lot better if she did that. And like you said, not the I deserve it. She's no, you don't deserve it. You fucking earned it.
Let me ask your guys' opinion about something then. If you look at Liv the way you do now, do you think she could be that 5 Feet of Fury style champion that Alexa Bliss was before she became the goddess and before she went in with the Fiend? Do you think Liv could be that style of champion?
Yeah,
she'd be bigger. I think she could be the person that, when Rousey goes in the ring, she could beat Rousey. Like
Yeah.
when she goes against Natalia, everybody beats Natalia, but
Right.
she's believable as beating Natalia. Like,
my thing is with her is like there is nobody that has an organic fan base like she does. There's not one woman besides, I guess, if you go with Becky when she became the man and all that, but like of any, and even she's even lost that somewhat. Like besides Bianca, and maybe even more than that, Liv has the most fucking ridiculous and loyal fan base and the organic fan base. It wasn't anything they did to get her fans. Like she grew those fans herself with overcoming everything that she had. That's why I don't want the fucking crying and shit. I'm like, no, I don't, it ain't that I deserve this. Like I scraped and clawed and fucking dug in and got this. Like that's the Liv I want to see. Like I don't want to see this emotional, yeah, I'm just happy to be here crying shit. Like get the fuck out of here. Like that's not realistic in this age and time for women to be the damsel in distress and just be fucking like weak-minded and like need somebody to come save her. Like nobody wants to see that, men or women.
yeah,
Throw that shit out.
you're no longer tied to the railroad tracks, hoping that the Keystone Cops come and rescue you.
Exactly.
Yeah, like it's those times are over, especially with her. Like, get rid of that makeup with the tears.
Yes, get rid of the tears altogether.
I think when Bailey comes back, either Liv and Bailey as a feud or Liv and Bailey as a team would work really, really well, because that's where Liv needs to grow to. Like she needs.
I think that the feud is right, but it's switch it. Let Bailey come back as a face.
Yeah, because she's gonna have to naturally come back as a face.
Right, and then you let Liv turn like, I've been here doing this whole time, and you motherfuckers are gonna cheer for her. Yeah, and that could be like.
Take your little bounty buddies and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Take that ding dong shit, kick the door, and let Liv just come and like kick the door in on one of her like the talk shows or something. You know what I'm saying? Like something like that to give her some toughness, like a fucking backbone. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm so sick of the tears shit. Like that's why I can never get behind her. Like I don't want to see somebody crying in the fucking ring, even when they won. Like I understand if it was a tough loss, like when she lost to Becky for the title and she finally got a title shot. Like I get that. Like I'm not mad at that. Like. You're frustrated. You almost had it. You lost. Fucking a tear comes out because you're that mad. But not when you win. Like you ain't lost really since fucking then. Like what are you crying about? You won the Money in the Bank and won the title in the same fucking night. There's nothing for you to be crying at. You're fucking winning. You are a boss bitch. Why are you crying?
Exactly. 100% agree. 100%.
For me, gentlemen, there's really not a lot that has me pissed off today. To be completely honest, this will make Marie Shadows happy. I've been face deep in the G1 tournament for the past probably 36 hours. I can say impressive things like World League and MSG League and the IWGP League. Like, I've been studying the history of it. So I've had a pretty good day, man. There's not a lot that's pissed me off. It's been pretty solid. I've got a couple news and rumors for you guys. I'm going to say a news headline, and then I want each one of you to give me your quick 30 to 60 second response on what I say to you, okay?
Yes, sir.
You just have to define that, because most women tell me it's 10 seconds, but I think it's like 45.
I'm going to use it. I can get the clock out for you so you can see it on the screen. I can time it for you. I know 60 seconds will feel like eternity to you, Bobby. Pineapple does not go on pizza, JJ.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Headline number 1. Natalia no-sells Liv at the WWE live shows. Liv hits her finisher. Natalia rolls out of the ring, no-sells it after the finish. It seems like they're heated. Do you guys have any opinion at all on Natty no-selling Liv?
I don't even need to say anything about this. Y'all know where I stand.
That's the only reason I put that on my headlines, RM, is just so I could get you to go off.
I saw it, and I saw what I think Metzler put on the whole thing, that it wasn't Natty directing anything at Liv directly, but you know that it's unprofessional. It doesn't belong. It totally.
Sorry to cut you off. What did Meltzer say? Because like all the shit I saw was like she poked her in the eye or like accidentally hit her and shit. Like Natty was mad. What did Meltzer say?
Meltzer said whatever it was squashed immediately after the match. When they got in the locker room, everything was good. That she was pissed off about something else. But again, dude, you're out there, you're on the stage, like you've got to perform, and doing that, it was classless. It was really classless, especially for someone that we talk about with Liv, who's trying to get over. Like she's got a stigma about her, as this, little train that could.
Right.
For Natty as a veteran to do that to her. House show or not, we all know there's cameras out there now, and I think it hurt Liv. Hopefully not too much.
Well, my thing is like everybody's always propping Natty's pussy on a pedestal of like she's this great ambassador and she's this, she's that, she's that. No, she's not.
Everybody but her husband.
Right. It's trash. Like I can't stand her. So like I don't need to say anything.
I agree.
So pretty much fuck Natty. If you can't do the sharpshooter, don't call yourself a heart. Next, Killer Cross and Scarlett both say no to Impact Wrestling. Do you guys think this is a good move for Killer Cross? And if he's not going to Impact, where do you think he goes next?
It's got to be AEW. I mean, if I was him, I'd go to Japan.
I think he'd be great in New Japan. Hell yes, he would.
And also being that he's not that great in the ring, like he can get away with like knocking people out and shit.
I think the only issue with Japan is Scarlett is too much for Japan.
Right.
Like she fits in really well with AEW. She fits in really well with Impact, with WWE, the American audience, the OnlyFans page. But in Japan, that's where she's going to fail. So I think really he's got to figure out, is it his career or her career?
Right.
Stop being the combined career.
Marie says he's in MLW. Not sure if he is signed. My understanding is he has a similar MLW contract to how Mike Bennett's is set up between Impact and NWA, where he can he's full-time for both companies, if that makes sense. So I think that's how MLW is worded. He's supposed to be full-time for MLW, but he can also work full-time wherever else he wants to, kind of thing. Right. I don't think he's under like an exclusive contract is the way to put it.
Yeah, but to me, MLW and NWA is just it's a half a tier over the Indies.
Right.
I mean, I honestly feel like I think MLW is still indie wrestling in a lot of ways, though. The same way PWG is. If you look at Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, I still think PWG is indie wrestling. Is it top tier indie wrestling? Absolutely. But I don't think PWG and Limitless on one coast to the other, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference between those two. You know what I mean?
That's how I feel about AEW. So I mean, they're all indies to me. So
yeah, it's indies with money. It's like how much money they actually have. Like that's AEW is the top indie league right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Marie says Scarlett will do fine in New Japan with Cross as a manager. So I saw today that Raw is moving back to a TV 14 show from a PG rating. That means they're going to be more open to adult-friendly content. Do you guys see this being a shift more towards the Attitude Era with WWE? Are we finally going to start seeing more blood, a little bit more, I don't want to say hardcore matches, but with the nature of the conversation tonight, why the hell not? Do you think we're going to see more of what we see on the other guys making the blend onto Raw and SmackDown with them bumping the rating up?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's clearly that's the direction they want to go. And they know that really that's the direction that wrestling is going. Like you got to kind of follow the trends. And I know that they're publicly traded and all that bullshit, but your core audience is what, 15 to 25? Well, they want to see tits, they want to see blood, and they want to see people get their ass kicked. So you got to kick that rating up.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's where they're going to go. I'm hoping they don't just try to copy the Attitude Era on, the Smash TV or whatever that's called, right. The quick vignettes or whatever. Like, but again, at the same time, the Attitude Era, if you look back at it, everybody was over. Like even Val Venus was over. Like we cared about his stories, even though we knew he was never going to be a world champion contender. We cared about when he was on TV, other than choppy pee pee. So I'm hoping that we get to that level. I'm hoping that we have some real matches on TV that they feel real. Like, and that's where I'm hoping this new rating system goes. And the PG era is dead. Linda's not going to run for government anymore.
Right.
Vince is on his outs. Like, let's get back to the entertainment that these generations from 15 to 45 enjoy. Like, let us believe what's happening instead of this stage show that's been on for the past 20 years.
I don't want him to go so far as AEW goes. Like, I feel like AEW has too much blood and too much bullshit for not having like a hardcore title or reason to have it. But I want them to come like right up to the line of AEW. Like, I want to see some blood on pay-per-view, especially like Hell in a Cell matches, falls count anywhere matches. Like somebody should fucking bleed. I'm sorry. Like they just should. If you're in a cage raking each other's heads, somebody should be busted open.
Agreed.
I want to see some tables and shit shattered.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And just like you said with AEW, they are the top of the indies. And if you watch an indie guy from the 80s, 90s that are still on the indie circuit, I'll say Ricky Morton, for example, every time they wrestle, they blade.
Yeah.
So if WWE can balance that and not have a blade every single time, but when it matters, when it's important,
right,
then it tells the story.
Use the blood to tell a story. Don't tell a story by just using blood. If that made it, I guess. James Drake and Zach Gibson, the grizzled young veterans, are getting the good old-fashioned WWE identity crisis, and they're being rebranded for the main roster as Jagger Reed and Rip Fowler. We've seen this habit over the last few years. What do you guys think about rebranding a solid tag team like the grizzled young veterans as somebody new for the main roster?
My thing is like if they didn't come up directly through the WWE pipeline, I understand if you change their name because you want control of it, you're gonna do t-shirts and all that shit. I get it. But when they came up through from your double A and triple A and everything to get there, what the fuck are you changing their names for? Like we know who they are. Like I know they can pretend like the universe, like NXT doesn't exist, but that's not fucking true. Like, especially now that they're on USA and everything, like they know who these people are. Like, I don't get the name changes ever, and it's always like the most ridiculous fucking names. And there'll be one name guys within the next 2 weeks anyway, as soon as they debut. So it's like, what the fuck,
Bobby?
I don't know who they are. So their renaming means nothing to me. WWE has done this for years. Like look at Tito Santana becoming the Matador. You can look at that history that they've done.
Did you not think the Ringmaster was not that wasn't a good gimmick?
Dude,
what was it? Man of War? What was Just Incredible? What was his shit called?
Yeah.
Man of War.
Mason the Mutilator became Mankind.
Yeah. Bastion Booger. WWE again, they have a history of this. Like, Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, came in as Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. They just started calling him Mr. Perfect. Kerry Von Erich came in, originally used his entire name plus Texas Tornado. They got rid of Kerry Von Erich because the marketing. I feel like they've kind of got a stigma now on these NXT guys getting promoted to the main roster and changing their names. They've always done it, but I feel like they're doing it wrong at this point in time. Like they really need to incorporate the past with the present. Like Dusty Rhodes coming in. He was still Dusty, but now all of a sudden he was polka dot Dusty. It wasn't the American Dream anymore. They might said American Dream, but it was dancing and polka dot, different whole thing. If they want to create this, I think they need to realize that NXT is to us as fans, and I maybe speaking for both of you, like I'm hoping, it's part of the WWE brand. It's not the NWA. It's not ECW. It's not the AWA. It's part of their brand. It's part of what they're building up. So if you're going to build them in NXT and then promote them, it's no longer building them in an indie, no longer building them in a territory and changing their profile. It's you're building them up from the ground up. And I don't know these guys, again, from Adam, which I thought was funny when Christian said that last night. But you have created this and now you're changing it within your own company. It doesn't make sense to me.
Hopefully it's just for all the NXT Gold guys. Hopefully the new 2.0 guys that they've all had their hands on and like they're the reason why they're there. That's why I'm giving 2.0 a chance, because like the guys that I like are getting pushed and getting championships, and it's supposedly the new direction. Like these are their hand-picked guys. So hopefully they keep their characters and their names when this new batch of 2.0 guys get called up. Fingers crossed. I know it's probably not going to happen, but fingers crossed.
It's going to be curious though now that Triple H is back in play on what happens to 2.0. Does 2.0 become 1.5?
Right. That's a good one.
Thanks.
Oh, Bobby Mack. All right, gentlemen. So the main meat and potatoes of the conversation tonight is the history of the strap, the hardcore title. So I'm going to ask you both: what are your first thoughts when I say the hardcore championship?
Mankind in the what is it, the hospital room with McMahon.
Mine, mine is honestly way before that. Will mark this down. Hogan too was when Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, smashed his title on Saturday Night's Main Event for his match against the Genius Lanny Poffo. That's the first time they introduced that belt, that championship. That was what I immediately like thought as a kid or thought as the person was, oh my God, they taped the old belt together that Kurt Hennig smashed with that mullet or mallet, sorry. So yeah, mullet. I was looking at you, Will, thinking about your Tennessee friends with all the mullets that they have. But yeah, that mallet. So that was my first thought. Obviously, Mick Foley getting it, being handed to him, was huge as well.
The first champion was Mankind. He was awarded the title on November 2nd of 1998. It was retired on August 26th, 2002, and it was unified with the IC title. When you think of Mick Foley, when you think of the Big Boss Man, when you think of RVD and Sabu and some of these wild guys in the late 90s and early 2000s, was this the closest WWE ever got to representing what ECW was?
Oh, really? I mean, they were like that as a whole, regardless of the hardcore title. Like really, it was redundant because they were doing hardcore matches and fucking each other up in tables and bouncing, bending chairs around dudes' heads and shit, whether the hardcore title was there or not.
Yeah, I love the fact that Bossman went from the blue cop uniform to the black uniform. Like, that all of a sudden made him hardcore. Like it was
Right.
like, oh, yeah, he's gonna cook a dog or do whatever he was doing with Big Show's dad and all this other kind of stuff. Like that made him hardcore. Like it's funny because like for Will, like Will gave me some notes. I actually looked some stuff up today and I saw that the WWE website lists the hardcore title from 90 to 99 as 30 as 13 champions. And then from 2000 to 2009, 208 different champions. like, and that cracked me up because I was like, well, the belt was made in 98. Like, what's this whole 90 to 99? Like literally the 1 year that the championship was there was 13 champions. So, it was a fun belt. Like it wasn't comical originally, but it did develop in the comedy and it did develop in some really good, some storylines. Like you got guys over like Boss Man, who was usually a mid-card guy, sometimes semi-main, sometimes he'd work with Hogan, three times. He'd work with them. But then he had Bulldog, that his only main event spot really was with Brett. And all of a sudden, Bulldog became a hard ass.
With the jeans.
Yeah, exactly.
With the fucking jeggings.
yeah, exactly. And then Al Snow, Bob Holly, Crash Holly, all these guys all of a sudden got boosted to higher mid card because of this belt. These guys were not, other than I'd say Bulldog, these guys were not IC title guys. But this hardcore belt at one point in time was made to feel special for these guys.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember about the belt. Like that's what I really appreciate about the belt was the guys that came from ECW, the guys that came from, the dying WCW. This belt gave them a little bit of prestige, but at the same time got them over. And at the same time for that kind of made you laugh and made you have a good time.
Yeah, Bubba and Steve Blackman are like the two guys that come to mind when I think of the hardcore title. Like, I know that's like weird, but like Steve Blackman, I could just see him with those fucking sticks, beating the shit out of people and like kicking people through doors and stuff. And then Bubba just going and fucking insane, killing old ladies and women and any fucking person that was around, putting them through tables. Like, I don't know why those two came to mind, but like soon as Will said this to me, like those were literally the first two dudes that I thought of.
When you look at some of the people who have held the championship over time, you guys rattled off a ton of them. Raven holds the title the most. with where was it at? I just had the tape. It was like 26 or something ridiculous. He held it like that many times. Crash Holly held it a ton. One of the Godfather's hoes held it at one point. Like, so when you think about it, there's kind of a, I wouldn't say a who's who have held the the hardcore title, but Al Snow, Raven, Chris Jericho, Rhino, Test, Mike Awesome, Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, Rob Van Dam, Kurt Angle, Maven, like Mighty Molly Holly, like
no,
the
like
list
Bobby
of people.
said, it was a who. No, you were right. It was a who's who. Like it was that middle ground for guys that weren't. They were either coming down from the main event, the mid main event level. Either guys coming down or guys going up. It literally was a fucking who's who. Like, there's a bunch of world champions that held that beat up ass belt.
The Undertaker held the title for what, 58 days. When you look at it from that perspective, one of the guys who held it the most was Raven. He was an ECW original. He came over into ECW from WCW, which a lot of people forget about, that he had that initial WCW run before. When you think, Marie says in the chat that he is one of her favorites, but when you think about Raven as a whole, you don't realize kind of the wrestling genius that man was. Like, everything from the way he worked to the way he produced matches to the way he, like, everything about Raven was very meticulous. And I feel like this was the division that was made for him because of my segue, which is into the 24/7 rule. When you look at how the 24/7 title is used now versus how the hardcore title and the 24-hour 24/7 rule speculation worked. I had a brain fart for a second. If you look at how the hardcore title is handled with the 24/7 rule versus how the 24/7 title is handled with the 24-second rule, would you pick the hardcore title over the 24/7 title? That's a lot of numbers and a lot of words.
It's not really any different. Like, what? There's no difference. It's just that no one ever like plainly said it about the hardcore title, but everyone knew it was. If you had a fucking ref, the title was on the line.
For sure.
The only difference is they literally just put that in to what the rules for the title is, because it's literally fucking called the 24/7 title. So like,
yeah, I think the biggest difference was the disappointment of Foley coming out and introducing this green 24/7.
Exactly.
That was the biggest thing I think against that belt, was the fact that you had Foley come out introducing a new belt. We're all anticipating Hardcore Championship coming back. We all know about the Hardcore Championship. But instead, they introduced this 24/7 belt, and like, what? Why?
Right.
And it was instantly a joke, like instantly a joke. Like, again, Will, you talk about like WWE legends, like, look at the people like Rhino, former ECW champion, Taz, former ECW champion, Booker T, former WCW champion, 5 times, by the way. You look at these guys and, Undertaker, Kurt Angle, these guys are all, Trish Stratus was a champion of this belt. Like, you look at all these people, like Hall of Famers that wore like this title, that wore this championship. And yeah, it was a joke championship, but could you imagine a Hall of Famer wearing the 24/7 championship? Like, can you see anybody that's worn that belt as being a Hall of Famer?
R-Truth.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you that one.
Ron Killings, I think he's the only solidified Hall of Famer in the 24/7 division. Right. But that goes with everything he's done outside the WWE. I've said for a long time, he's a friend of the show. I've always said that I don't like the fact that they've made him this eternal jobber when he's genuinely one of the best workers in the company. When he has a chance to work, like, he's one of the best. But
I don't think he is a jobber anymore. Like, as much as he is a jobber, like, he's not. Like, and I think he was fringe before the 24 title came along. I think the 24 title showed us the comedy shit could go along with him working, and he worked more with main eventers with the 24/7 shit than he did when he actually was wrestling. So like, I don't think of him as a jobber, even though he is the eternal king of all jobbers, but he does so much more. And like, he's always like, just look at Raw this past week. Like, did you think he was going to be the one thrown into that fucking tag team title situation? Like, and he was fucking amazing at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I can honestly say I've always been kind of an R-Truth hater, but like this last like maybe 5 or 6 years, like, I see his worth and his value, and I think that he might be a jobber, but he's the best fucking jobber of all time.
I'd say definitely, like, he's like gone above. Like, he actually does funny does equal money when it comes to him. And like that segment where him and Brock and Heyman in the ring about the Royal Rumble. Oh my god, dude, that's hilarious. Like it's funny. Like it's natural, and it like he does so much for that belt, and so much for that division, for a division that doesn't deserve him.
Right.
It really doesn't, because
he got over Carmelo. That's all you need to fucking say.
Yeah.
Like let's be honest. Like he got over Carmelo. Like that right there puts him in the Hall of Fame just off that alone.
Yep, 100%. Probably more than Corey Graves.
Right.
Okay, we are 46 minutes in, and Bobby said something inappropriate about blonde women for the second time. Looking at the big history of it, there were a couple nights in 2002 where there were multiple changes. If you remember WrestleMania 18, that was Hogan Rock, Bobby.
That's your first mention. How dare you?
There it is. That's a 3-1. But that night you have to think about Maven brought in the hardcore title to defend it in a match against Goldust. And inside that match, Spike Dudley pinned Goldust, then the Hurricane pinned Spike, then Mighty Holly pinned the Hurricane, and then Christian pinned her, and then Maven pinned Christian. All inside of one pay-per-view. We saw the title change 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in one night. Do you think this is the cool part of the story, or do you think that's overkill in what they were doing?
I think the comedy part was, good. It was good for the story. But again, I think really once Crash Holly got the belt, it became a joke belt. Like it became like, they were going to amusement parks. They were, doing all these, things that got Crash over. Like, I don't think we would be talking about Crash Holly if it wasn't for this title.
Right.
If it wasn't for this, championship. Like, he'd be forgotten. So it was great for Crash. It was great for what they were doing. It was part of that Attitude Era Crash TV that really, it made everybody important.
Right.
And I really do feel like, yes, this was important stuff. And it was new. It was totally new to us. We hadn't seen a championship change hands this much before.
Right.
And it introduced us to like this whole new level of what pro wrestling is, what sports entertainment is. So was it bad for the business? No. It was a new thing for the business. It was a new location. It was a new direction for what pro wrestling was going to become.
It was the first time WWE didn't take itself so serious. That's what I always take away from it. And that's why I love it and like gave it so much credit, because especially with all the shit, like it was just titties and people getting their ass kicked and saying fuck you and flipping people off. Like when the hardcore title came around, like it actually gave you some in-ring work to go with the shitty shit that they were saying and doing. Like, and it was different for anything that WWE, like, you got to think, remember before all this shit, the Attitude Era, it was like we just talked about, it was clowns and dentists and fucking hog farmers and shit. Like, it was such a like hard left turn from what they had been like 2 or 3 years before. So that's why I always liked it, because I was like, what the fuck is this? This is not, you know what I'm saying, red, white, and blue rope WWE shit. Like, this is ECW shit I have to sneak and watch at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night. Like, and it's on fucking Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
When you look at how it was used, I mean, there's so many parallels between the hardcore title and how it was used and got over so much in the late 90s in correlation with the 24/7 title, and to the fact of what you were talking about, Bobby. They got into the cinematic matches. They got into like where they were going out into the world. You know what I mean? They were at the amusement parks and at the stupid like soccer matches and stuff. When they got into it, do you guys think that they really, really pushed the envelope with the Attitude Era in the hardcore division? Do you think what they were trying to do was just that wow factor a lot of times?
I think it was the first time they actually did it in the ring. Like, we saw the comedy bits backstage. Like, we saw the APA knocking on the door and having to go through the door and all that kind of stuff. I think this was the first time that they actually presented the stuff in front of the live audience more, other than like a Brother Love show or Piper's Pit, or something, or Snake Pit, whatever. Like, I feel like this was the first time they actually presented the product in front of the live audience on the stage, versus being backstage vignettes. So yeah, I think this was an evolution. Like, this really was an evolution of professional wrestling and sports entertainment, that, you know what, we're not just funny backstage doing these skits. We can be funny in the ring, but also tell a good story.
Right. And like it was pretty much what they have been doing. It was stealing some shit from ECW and introducing it to a mainstream audience. And nobody does it better than them. So like it was perfect. Like I said, it was such a crazy fucking thing compared to what they were before. Like it's definitely like high up there on their wow factor, them just being different than what they normally did.
In the history of the match, you also had a few times where they suspended the 24/7 rule, which, like when Shane McMahon had it and Mankind was the general manager of Raw at the time, and he suspended the title so that way Shane had no choice but to defend it against Steve Blackman. When you see these kind of matches, these grudge matches where the guys go in there and you know it's going to be a bloody match, do you guys like those just genuinely hardcore throwdown style death matches? Is that really your cup of tea?
It is for me. I love it.
I'm not a big deathmatch fan, but
whoa, not deathmatch. That's crossing the line too.
I'd say, WWE's version, WWF's version of deathmatch is nothing like what these idiots do on the indie circuit at this point. Right. When there's a hardcore match, a ECW style match, with barbed wire, bats, or chairs, fire, tables, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm cool with that. Yeah, but when you say deathmatch, Will, that's a whole new category that those idiots, if a light tube goes to their heart, that's your fault, because you're a moron for getting in there and doing that shit.
So you're not a Nick Gage guy, Bobby? You're not on the murder, death, kill bandwagon?
No, and I never sold drugs or got arrested for that either with like Nick Gage. So yeah, Nick Gage does not belong in this business. He's not a business guy. He's a moron. He's a moron that's going out there. He's no different than these TikTokers that go out there and just do death-defying things that hope they survive.
Right.
Noob says after the freak accident in GCW, he doesn't like death matches either. I feel like this is one of those situations where we talked about our favorite gimmick matches, Bobby. And I think that if the story develops right and everything can build to a street fight or a Texas death match or build using the story, that's one thing. When you get into the GCW realm or the ICW realm, like the insane championship wrestling stuff where it's all death matches all the time, GCW is reined it back a little bit. I'll give them credit there. Mm-hmm. Some of their shows have been pretty dope. Some of those guys have really been killing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Blake Christian's a hell of a worker. Alex Shelley killed it in GCW for a little while. They did, however, just do Backyard Fest 4. Backyard Wrestling 4 or whatever they called it, and they were literally out there wrestling on trampolines and shit, Bobby. Something tells me you missed that event altogether, right?
Yeah, crazy enough. NXT and wrestling on trampolines, I've missed them both.
Something tells me you weren't watching Backyard Wrestling 4. RN, what do you think about like the rise of the Nick Gage stuff? I've never really heard you mention that much about it. That's not really the Rewind's thing. Do you know who he is and follow him much, like outside of the AEW stuff?
I follow all that. I pretty much follow all indie and for the most part, most foreign shit. Like that's just because Kyle's not up to it, so like I don't really bring it up much. Like it's not the deathmatch shit isn't my thing. Like I know who he is, and like I don't judge it or shit on it because wrestling is supposed to be for everybody, and you even need that corner for sick fucks too. So, and like you said, GCW has dialed it back a little bit, and they do have some really, really good performers there. So like, I don't watch it. I would not have watched the Backyard 4 shit, but like, if you have one like stupid fucking light tube match on a card, like, I'm not gonna shit on you for it. You know what I'm saying? It's not my cup of tea, but kind of is what it is. But yeah.
I've learned about mass murderers and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, like I'm not going to support any of them.
Right.
And, like, is Manson the king or is it Dahmer? Like I'm not going to rate them because I don't think that they deserve that kind of rating. It's not for me. So yeah, do I like reading or watching these documentaries about this stuff? Yeah, but am I going to go out and support that kind of activity? No, because it's like watching a stripper. That's somebody's daughter, and that's somebody's son. That's somebody's son out there. That's somebody's like kid out there. Like they're putting themselves out there, and I guarantee you, those guys on that indie circuit are making $30 or $40. They're probably making the same price I was making as a ring announcer, not doing shit other than wiping my feet when I walked into a ring and made an announcement.
Well, let me ask you guys a question then. I know you are both just avid AEW fans. Do you think AEW could use a hardcore style or 24/7 championship in their plethora of belts?
No, they do that shit anyway. Like anytime Moxley's in a fucking match, he's dripping fucking blood. Like that, I finally came around to Moxley's side, and now this bleeding every fucking match stuff is like, it's not for me. Like I said, they do this shit anyway. Every match has tables. That's one of my main like complaints about AEW is like, what are the fucking rules? Like sometimes they have regular match rules, and sometimes it'll be the same type of match, and the referees letting them hit each other with tables, putting each other through. I mean, with chairs, putting each other through tables and shit. Like what are the fucking rules? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know match to match, even though they don't say it's a hardcore match or a falls count anywhere match, but they all fucking turn into that eventually. So it's like, it's crazy as hell to me. I don't get it.
Yeah, Tony Khan has to like figure out what his promotion is because it's 3 years now, right? Like 2 years, 3 years?
All In was 2018. AEW started in 2019.
Okay, so it's been long enough. Like they've got to figure out their identity and move forward with it. And to me, like watching that tag team triple threat a couple days ago, I'm just sitting there going, how much leeway, like how much do you feel comfortable with these two vice presidents in the ring? How much leeway do you have in that match? Because are they calling the entire thing? Like they've got to get over, like they've got to get these guys out. Like they've got most of them out at this point. Cody's gone. I think with Omega being injured, like it's helped them a lot develop the singles competition. The tag team competition, you got FTR there. You don't need the Young Bucks anymore. Like the Young Bucks are no longer young, and that would disqualify the name Bucks as well. So what do you do next? Because I think that's what Tony Khan needs to get over is the fact that he's got some veterans there. He's got Christian Cage. He's got Big Show. He's got Mark Henry. He's got JR, Taz. He's got all these guys there that could develop this into something that's old school / new school. And I think he needs to figure out what does our real core audience want? Because I'll tell you what, I know you guys know Japan. When I see these guys walk out from Japan, I have no fucking clue who they are and why I should be cheering for them or booing them because I don't know Japan.
Well, it's not that you don't know Japan; it's that they didn't do anything to introduce you to the guys they had coming over from Japan.
Yeah,
which is what.
Give me a vignette. When WWF, for example, introduced the Machines back in the day, way back in the day, 88, 86, I didn't know who Giant Machine was. Yeah, he looked kind of familiar. I didn't know who the other machines were, but they sold me vignettes of these three machine masked wrestlers coming over from Japan. When I met Junkyard Dog on WWF television in '84, I didn't know who he was. I wasn't a South guy, but they put him in a friggin' car crusher and called him the Crusher, and he could defy gravity by holding the thing up with his strength. I knew who he was at that point. So why not sell me when Mr. Perfect made all those friggin' bowling shots, when, all these guys did this stuff, sell me on who they are, build them up, before you introduce me to them.
And that's what they just assume, because most AEW stands are fucking marks for them. They assume, and because they're from New Japan as well, they assume that people know who they are. Just like you said, a lot of people didn't know who a lot of the guys from New Japan were, including Will Ospreay. Like, that was surprising to me how many people had no fucking clue who Will Ospreay is. Like, he's literally one of the top wrestlers in the world. You know what I'm saying? So like that, AEW always overthinks everything and overproduces everything and over just stresses shit that they don't need to. And then the little things like their the Titantron movies for their wrestlers, the music, you know what I'm saying? And all the little things they should be worried about, they don't. And like you said, introducing new people, not just a motherfucker showing up. You cut the lights off and a new guy pops out in the ring every fucking time. Like, how many times can you do that? Like, pay the light bill, motherfucker, or whatever dude is fucking manning the switches back there. Like, that dude needs to be fired because he cuts the light. Like 6 weeks in a row, the lights cut off and somebody came out. Like, whoever the light guy is needs to be fired.
Yep,
like,
I didn't know who Ospreay was, and like I couldn't recognize him in the lineup. But when he put his name up on the screen, I knew who he was. I was like, oh shit, I've heard of this guy. Like, he's really good. Like, he's the top in the land. But it was like, okay, well, now I can put a face with his name. But
what should have made them know is that's how people felt about Kenny Omega. But when he came over,
yep,
like, people knew who the Bucks were and they knew who like Jericho and Cody was, but nobody really knew who the fuck Kenny Omega was.
I have to be honest about this, and this is something that I catch. This is something that I catch a lot of heat for. Like, I don't get Kenny Omega. Like, I knew who he was before he came over. I knew who he was. I'm the same person. Marie says it in the chat. Everybody remembers Will Ospreay being the skinny guy that flips all the time. I completely agree with that. She knows up until recently I was the dude who was like, Will Ospreay is just Ricochet from Wish. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think anything about him until I saw him work at Wrestle Kingdom, and I was like, okay, this dude's really fucking good. Then I saw him, you know, by the time we get all the way up to Forbidden Door, I'm like, okay, Will Ospreay's the real deal. He can perform at the highest level on the biggest stage, and that's all I said I needed to see from him. But Kenny Omega, to me, performed the best in New Japan. He hasn't shown me anything in AEW that's just pushed the limits. You know what I mean? So if I have to go back and find something from 5 years ago where you killed it at G1 in 2016, that's awesome. I'm glad you killed it at G1 in 2016. But I don't want to have to go back 6 years to watch a great match. Kill it in the biggest.
He's the only foreigner to win the climax too.
Yeah, I feel like AEW is doing what Bobby Heenan and WWE did back in 1991. When they brought that big gold belt out and said the name Ric Flair, and they expected you to know the big gold belt. They expected you to know who Ric Flair was. If you were not a WWF fan, if you were just a WWF fan, you had no idea who Ric Flair was. You had no idea what that belt represented. And I feel like AEW does that constantly now.
Yep.
They anticipate that you are taking notes of everybody and everything that's going around. And truth be told, we are no longer that society that studies all that stuff, looks at all that stuff, other than probably, as podcasters. It's that spoon-fed thing that, hey, you know what? This is what you like. And
another of their issue is they assume because everyone knows all the WWE guys they signed, that means you know everybody. And that, again, it's them overthinking shit. Like, no, we know those guys because they're on the biggest fucking wrestling show on the planet.
They're on Broadway. They're on Broadway coming down to the street theater.
Exactly. Like coming down to the improv shop and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yes, we know who the fuck that is. Like, no, we're not going to know this off-Broadway guy that performs in Germany. Like, we need some fucking backstory to this guy.
Tell me why I like him.
Right.
Chat says pretty much everybody agrees Kenny Omega's overrated. I mean, that seems to be the long and the short of it.
Fuck all you guys in the chat, and
RN disagrees.
You guys don't know what you're talking about.
RN is a Kenny Omega guy. RN, I do have to chime in, and I have to be a little bit of a stickler because I've been watching. You're right. Kenny Omega is the only foreigner to win the G1. But do you know who the first non-Japanese winner was to win the...
Shit, I just saw this.
I've got it, and I've got it queued up for Bobby.
Oh yeah, it was Hogan for sure.
Yeah, 1983. He won the inaugural IWGP title. I had no idea that the IWGP title, when it was introduced, wasn't defended regularly like a championship. Like it was just the once a year, and then the winner of the tournament fought whoever held the title. Like these are things that even I had no idea about.
International Wrestling Grand Prix.
Yeah, no, I knew all of that, but like it. Yeah, like when I found out about it, I was like, holy crap. In the World League before that, Andre the Giant swept the entire field, and then Inoki got him on a fucking countout to win the title. I was holy crap.
I think
like
Andre won it 3 times, maybe?
Andre was the first person to win it that wasn't named Inoki. He won 2. Inoki won 2 of the first World Leagues. Then Andre won the MSG League year 2 that MSG League was happening.
Inoki won like 10, I think. He's won 10 altogether, I'm pretty sure.
Inoki won 10 of the first 15 G1s. 10 of the first 15, ladies and gentlemen. And then you think about... Then you think about the fact that Chono came through, and then you look at everybody else that came through. I'm going back to my notes from like days now. You had the 3 Musketeers from the New Japan Dojo, Chono, Muto, and Hashimoto, which were just one big dude that beat the shit out of everybody, a high flyer, and then a technical genius. Like, so they ran the G1 Climax for 10 years, from the early 90s all the way through the early 2000s. Chono was a fucking beast. Then you get to your Nokadas and your Nagatas and your Okadas and your Natos and your Omegas and your Tanahashis. Like, you think about the 20 years before those guys got there, that the G1 Climax was just fucking murdering wrestling, and nobody even, like, the mainstream American media didn't even give it any props at all.
Was there a rule that they had to end with an A?
No, Bobby, you're just racist towards Japanese people. Since we've
been slightly racist, but I was also thinking the same thing.
We've completely derailed. We went from the WWE hardcore title to AEW to New Japan, and now we've been talking about the G1 tournament for the last.
Well, who owns a beach? Who owns a beach shop in Tampa?
Oh, you're talking about Hulk Hogan.
Oh, that's 3-3. So we're tied now.
Got him.
Oh, you got me. Gentlemen, this conversation is completely derailed, but it does come to my favorite part of the night. RN, tell everybody what you've got going on, where to find you, plug your stuff, and what's going on.
Don't forget to check me out on Twitter, Mr8984. Also follow the main pod, Smacked Raw Pod. Catch me on Facebook, Mean Jelly Bean Memes, if you want to make your parents buttholes pucker from some pure ignorant shit. Route 4 Kennels on Instagram if you guys are looking for puppies. We got Frenchies, French Mastiffs, American Bullies, and Toy Poodles. And then also Mean Jelly Bean Productions on YouTube. Sandwiches and AJ's. Go ahead and check that out. And then we got Children of the Corn dropping on August 22nd.
Bobby Mack.
You can follow me on TikTok at Yellow Shoe Guy, Twitter, Yellow Shoe Guy, Twitch. Guess what? Yellow Shoe Guy. And anything else, you want to find my accounting website, you can easily go to LinkedIn or Linktree, and find me there for some spicy videos and some other good stuff. So
stop sending me pictures of your feet.
Hey, bro, as long as you keep paying, I'm going to keep sending.
That's on Alison's card, not mine. All right, well, remember to follow the boss bitch at Boss Watch and Share Shots, Miss Alison at Just a Girl 918. Remember to follow the fearless leader of the Smack Raw Podcast Network, Kai Tai Show, Mr. Kyle Tyson. If you're one of the Facebook persuasions, head over and follow the Orange Ribbon Rumble. It's a great benefit charity show that Botch Bots and Share Shots is pairing with Pro Wrestling Alliance. It's coming up on August 26th. We're going to start releasing some really great cards, some really great like superstars that are coming. There's going to be a silent auction, lots of cool stuff coming up for that show. So now as we close another episode of Botch Bots and Share Shots, I want to take a minute and thank you for listening. Remind you to go wherever you do anything on the internet, Facebook, Instagram, iHeartRadio, Twitter, Spotify. Literally, you have all the options: like, follow, subscribe, unsubscribe, then subscribe again. Leave a comment telling me how great I am or how terrible I sound. Either way, it helps the algorithm. It helps me find new listeners. If you're feeling really generous and be one of the VIP people, head over to patreon.com and donate to the Smacked Raw Podcast Network. You get some swag, we get some fantastic guests. It's a win-win. For RN and Bobby Mack, I'm your host, The Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.